All right, so we'll get everybody started. So I'm Danielle. I do all the education with Colormap. And today I am so stoked to have Artistry by Anita on here. So if you want to get going, and I'll help answer whatever questions we have going on.
Yeah, I'm going to scoot this back a little bit so you guys can see
Perfect.
what's going on back here. All right, well, thank you guys for joining us today. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for hosting me. I'm so excited about this. I have used Colormap for years, so this is great to finally be getting to work with you guys. My name is Anita. I have been doing hair for about 6 years now. I'm a blonding and vivid specialist here in Ogden, Utah, and I work at Blank Canvas Salon. I pretty much do vivids and just blonding. I mean, obviously I'm a full colorist. I do everything, but vivids is definitely my realm of expertise, and I love it. So today we're going to be going over some different formulations. On this mannequin here, I have done more bold colors, and we're doing the Jawbreaker technique from KCO.
Oh, that looks so pretty.
Yeah, so I have this one that is being processed, and I wanted to leave one chunk of it undone so people could see the level that I'm applying to, because obviously this is the perfect canvas, but that's not what we have in our chair a lot of the time. And that's why we have Colormap, because we don't always have the perfect canvas. So obviously this is a perfect canvas, and with some things I've done before, like with these pastels that I've done, obviously again, another perfect canvas, but we're not, again, we don't always have that. So I'm going to show you guys kind of how to formulate with this color scheme on darker hair tones and then darker levels, and then obviously what we can do with our pastels. The color line that I'm using is Fulbright. I work with Fulbright. I'm an educator for them, so that's the color line that I'm going to be using today. So if you guys have any questions about the color line, I'll go over a little bit about it, because it goes hand in hand with Colormap. Because what the whole point of all of this is to understand your underlying pigment and your underlying level that you have in the hair. Because once you understand that, you're master colors. Like, you got it. Like, you can do anything as long as you understand the underlying tones of the hair. So it's really nice to have something like Colormap, because then we can visually see what we're working with, and we don't have to guess what our color is going to look like. So in years past, before I knew about Colormap, I was using paper towels to swatch on, things like that. And the reason why that's not good to use, I mean, it works fine, but the reason why you don't necessarily want to use a paper towel is because, is your canvas pure white? Probably not. Probably not. So what's that doing is, if you're showing your client, hey, this is the color that I'm using on you, but it's on a white canvas, it's not going to look the same on their hair. And we want also, I visually love to use Colormap with my clients, because I am an educator not only for stylists, but for my clients as well. So I love to talk them through what I'm doing. I love to show them visually. And with Colormap, it's great because I can visually say, okay, so this is the level you're at. This is the underlying pigment. Now let's swatch some colors on this to see what you're actually going to look like. Because if I were to swatch it on a paper towel, it's just not realistic. You're not getting true results. So on this gal here, before we go into swatching on the Colormap, the formulations I chose for this are a bit deeper, because I wanted to be able to also swatch this on the deeper tones of the Colormap as well. But I also have some pastels that we're going to be swatching, so we can see the difference with different tones, because these colors that I have here are all really deep tones, if you guys can see them. They're all very, very deep colors, and I did that because I want to show the diversity of how these colors can work on different levels. So here, what I'm doing is, if you guys are familiar with Pulp Riot, I have mixed, for my pink, I did Cupid and Sandstorm, because for me, in the rainbow, I prefer to use pink. Pink is one of my favorite colors. So anytime I can, I try to incorporate it. So pink is what I'm using for my red in the rainbow. And I added that Sandstorm in there to kind of add the red essence into it without it being too of a red-pink color. And then with the orange, I did nuclear and lava. If you know, nuclear is one of their most pigmented colors that they have, along with sapphire. These are great for those deeper levels, and I'll show you that on the color map. On the on these colors, because of the pigment that they pack in, you can use it on deeper levels, like a level 7 or something. Let's say you have a client who is wanting to maybe go copper but not commit to it, and they live to like a level 7. You can use that color map and show them, okay, well, you're orange, this paper's orange, so if we put this pigment over it, and you want to do a natural copper or like a temporary copper, you can show them on the color map how to utilize that. Because how this is going to look here on this perfect level 10, it's not going to look the same on a level 7. It'll still be beautiful. You'll still see the orange pigment, but it won't be the same. So when I'm done painting this section, we'll kind of go over that and the differences between using the different oranges on that the different colors on the different levels. With my yellow, I did sapphire because sapphire is super, super pigmented, super dark yellow. I did add a little bit of lemon in there to kind of dilute it in a sense, but I did lemon with a little sapphire, and then I did, what did I do? Fly Trap and Area 51. I have a sales rep come in, and she was watching me mix color, and I don't measure when I'm doing vivids. I don't do that. And she's like, how do you know what to do? I'm like, well, I just mix it, and if I run out, then I make sure to leave a little bit on my bowl. One of my favorite tricks to do is, like, if you're not going to measure, like, I'll take, like, let's say I have a little bit more of this left, I'll take it and just swatch it on there. And also, I use my color map to help me, because I swatch all my colors on my color map before I paint their head, because I do this cute little thing where I swatch it, and then I like my clients to sign their formulations in the book.
Oh, that's so cute.
So it's kind of like a little keepsake for me to see, like, oh, these are the things I've done, and these are the clients I've done it on. So I have my clients sign their little swatch pages, and then I have that to look back on, and I love to show them what I'm doing as well. So it's really fun. And then for the blue, I did Nemesis, Nightfall, and Blue Muse. And then for the purple, just straight velvet. It's not very often that I mix just one color. I like to use all the colors. So as you guys can see, this is the finished look with this particular mannequin. I will post the results to this on my Instagram page tomorrow. I'm very excited about it. But this is how these colors look on a perfect canvas. All right? So let's go over on the color map how that's going to look on a non-perfect canvas, right? I'll move this over here. All right, so here, this is a little trick I like to do in general when I'm doing undercuts or things like that when I'm painting. I like to just put saran wrap over my tray and then just squirt little dobs of color on my tray, and then I don't use bowls and stuff. Because typically when I'm doing, yeah, it helps. It works out great, because then, you know, if I'm doing an undercut where I don't need a lot of color, just utilize the tray. That's what I do. So we have our beautiful color map here, and this is a fresh one, so I should have brought my used one in so I could show you guys. But I have, as you can see, we have our different colors in here. We have white, and then we have our pale yellow, and then we have our deeper yellow, and then we have our orange, and then we have our deep orange. And that's it, right? Yes. Yeah, so we have those 4. So let's talk about this. So this is typically what I used to be swatching on. And in theory, if you get a perfect canvas, this is what all these colors are going to look like. So this is Desert Sky from Hope Riot, which is a really pretty pastel peach. Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah, if you even want to bring it a little closer to your camera.
Yeah. Let's do that.
That's perfect.
Better? Okay. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead here and just swatch some of these pastels. So these are all considered pastel shades from Pulp Riot. And I wanted to make sure to showcase these because how many times do we have a client who sends us pictures of pastel hair and you're like, okay, sis, but like your hair is not going to be like that in one session, and this is why. So we got to talk to them. We got to be realistic. We got to show them. And for me, I'm a very visual person, so I need to see things, and I just assume that my clients are the same way. I'm like, all right, well, I'm visual, you're visual, let's talk about this, let's see it. So these colors are really gorgeous, but they're gorgeous on this paper. So I want to make sure with my clients that I'm being realistic and showing them, all right, so this is how these colors look on this page. I'm going to tear this one out so we can go on each page and do a comparison of all these colors. Before I do that though, let me swatch the same ones on here. I'm just going to go through and kind of swatch the same way. So we have, this is our reference sheet for a perfect canvas, and then we're going to do a little comparison of all the sheets with these colors.
So I gotta ask you, often do you think you're getting like that perfect canvas in your chair? Is that like finding a unicorn, or?
So for me, I have a lot of regular Vivid clients, and very seldomly do they, I guess it just depends. Like I have one client named Chelsea, and she, every single time I do her hair, pretty much we get her back to a perfect canvas. But she's got like that level 7 hair, and she's been coming to me for like 2 years. We switch up her color every 8 weeks, and we do something completely different every single time. So without Colormap, I would fail with her because oftentimes I don't have a perfect canvas, but I use the Colormap and just color theory to color shift. So like there was in Christmas, we did peppermint hair on her. So we did white and red and made it look like a peppermint candy, and it was gorgeous. But we knew that around this time this year we would want to do rainbow. So between her appointments, I was like, okay, instead of us trying to remove this red and all this stuff, because it faded pink, what I did is I just color shifted it at the next appointment. So I was like, all right, so this appointment, we're just going to color shift you. So then the next appointment, we have a great canvas for the rainbow. So what I did was I removed her color with like blank canvas or Malibu DDL or something, you know, a color remover, and got it as pink, as light pink as possible. And then I just color shifted it with green, and it went like silvery. And then I left her that way for the next appointment. And then when she came back, it was faded, and I was able to get her back to that pure white, and we did perfect rainbows. So with this color map, we have warm tones, but if you're working with a cool tone, like let's say you're lifting out a violet or a blue or a green, and you have that minty green pigment, what I actually like to do, and what I kind of created it in my own color map, is I'll take like this sea foam green that we end up with in the hair a lot, and I will actually just like make swatches, and then the next time when I need to go color shift something, like let's say this green is dried up on here, I swatch my color over the green.
And that might be added in the future.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I won't have to create that anymore. But
how I'm supposed to say.
Well, hey, that's okay. I'm really excited about it. I have been wanting that for a really long time, so I'm really excited about it. Well, until that comes out, which I'm so excited for, you can do a solution like this where if you have old swatches in your book, you can just swatch right over it with the opposing color to see what's going to happen. So I love to have this because then I can utilize that and utilize each, and like sometimes I'll just go over it, like if on my yellow canvas, if I have green on here and I'm wanting to put, and sometimes I just use it to do, to show clients, like, hey, so you have purple on your hair, and if I put this color on here, this is what's going to happen. And I'll swatch over as my previous swatch to show my client what's going to happen. Because a lot of the time, like, it's our job to understand the formulations and the color theory. It's not our client's job. It's our job to teach them. So that's why I love having this, because of that. I can easily pull this out and just show my client, look, this is what it is. And then they're like, oh yeah, okay, cool, got it. And they're more trusting when they can see that you care and that you know what you're doing, right? So let's move on to our pale yellow. So this is the key with pastels. So even with a pale banana yellow canvas, pastels are going to have a little bit of a difficulty translating how they're supposed to. So these colors are really beautiful, but they're going to look different on these darker canvases. Typically what I like to do when I have pastels, if I have a pale yellow client like this, first I like to purple shampoo them or something at the sink. One of my favorite tips and to do it really quickly and very easily is to mix water and purple shampoo together in an applicator bottle and squirt it all over their head. And one, it emulsifies better, and two, dilutes it a little bit, so you're not like going silver with their hair. You're just toning out the yellow. And I like to do that to try and get the canvas as white as possible. Again, if I don't, then I have this, so I can formulate, and it's gonna be okay. But I like to try and neutralize as much yellow as I can when I'm doing vivids. Now, if I'm doing a deeper color, like on Homegirl over here that we painted, I don't have to worry about that, and we'll show you guys that. But essentially, I'm not going to swatch these ones on here because it's going to be pretty much the same. Those dark colors will show up. But on the pastels, they're just going to be a little bit different. They're just slightly. They're just a little bit, they're just changing a little bit more. That's just because this is a pure white canvas. So we're going to take that one out and then move on to our... This over here. Running out of room. Okay. All right.
Every day.
You what? You cut out. I couldn't hear you. What did you say?
I have the same problem at work. Just always.
Yeah. You're like, so do I have enough space? I don't think so. I think some of the salon girls are on here. I'm like, you guys know I'm constantly dropping stuff. I'm all over the place because I never have enough room. No matter how much room I have, I never have enough room. So we're going to go through here and see how I automatically want to show you guys. Look how much more red that is looking on the darker one versus that one. That's just a little bit more red because the canvas is a little bit darker.
And that's the Cupid with Sandstorm.
Sandstorm.
Got that little too.
Yep. Yep. And I actually, with some of these colors, I prefer to put dark, like depending on what they are, I prefer to put some of the darker shades on a darker level because it's just going to last longer. That's just how it's going to be. So with the blues, this is one thing I wanted to show you guys. When you're getting into blue territory, you can't really see it here too much, but this will, as it processes, go a little bit green. So one thing you guys have to remember when you're doing blues, if you put it on a yellow canvas, what do blue and yellow make? They make green. So you need to add violet into your formula if you're applying blue onto a green or onto a yellow canvas, because that will kind of fill the hair so it doesn't go green. Same thing with if you have a really dark yellow canvas and you're wanting somebody, or even like this, if you're wanting to do pastel purple, it's just gonna neutralize it. When this dries, it's gonna be pretty much clear because all that is doing is neutralizing that pigment. Whereas here, obviously, it's that true purple, but look how different that purple looks compared to what I just did. That's the same color. But those are completely two different colors because of the underlying tone of what's on there. So you want to make sure that you're really paying attention to what's on there, because if your client is lifted to this canvas, these colors, these pastel colors now that I'm doing are not really, oh, sorry, I'm out of frame. They're not really showing up as much as I'm getting into these darker territories. Oh, there was some yellow on there. Hello. Even with the sea glass, like the sea glass is looking more blue on there. That is, let me hold this up like this. So this middle color is the same thing as this one here. But the bottom one is looking more blue because it's just neutralizing that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really look the same. And that's how it's going to be with any of these pastels as you get further into it. And same thing, the yellow, it just kind of disappears onto the page. It's the same color as that. Whereas here, you can see it's distinct.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So that's for that. And at the end, we'll compare all these sheets. I'll pull all these out. Oh. Okay, let's move on here to our orange. Do that one, yes. Okay. So we've got this one now. This is where you're going to want to reach for your darker colors. So like the colors that will show up best on this level is velvet, is a dark blue, even a dark green. I would even go a little bit darker green because what's going to happen when you put it on this, it's like that is a completely different color than what I did here.
Okay. Oh my, that looks totally different.
Yes. So that bottom row is the same. Those are the same colors on that bottom row.
That is wild. See, like how different that is, and it's all the same formulation.
Right. These are the same colors. It's just your underlying pigment of what's on your hair. So again, if your client has black box dye or whatever, or just dark hair and they lift to this orangey pigment, obviously these colors are going to show up the best, but they're still not going to look the same as these three, right? So if I were wanting to do like a dark forest green, that's a really popular color right now. So if you did want to do a dark forest green on this kind of level, I would just do straight fly trap, and I would maybe add a little nightfall into it to help kind of neutralize that orange pigment so the green can do its job on its own.
Kristen,
same thing with
the cursed black box dye.
The cursed black box dye. Yes, seriously. I mean, at this point, we can't avoid it. We really cannot avoid it, but we just got to embrace it. And having something like this makes that easier because then, I mean, I think oftentimes how many times have we run into a issue where we tell a client, hey, this is what it's going to be, and then you do that and they're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and you're like, well, right, but I have noticed a huge difference in my own services when I can visually show them, look, this is what your hair looks like, and I like instantly, that's crazy that you can instantly see the difference.
Yeah.
But it also helps because then see, same thing with that middle row, the yellow disappeared. The red is a little bit more red. The orange is a little bit more muted. It's not as vibrant as it was on the original page. Because when you have this, you can show them, okay, this is what it's going to be, and it's super nice. And then with these, I mean, they're kind of going to show up, but again, once these dry, they're pretty much going to disappear into the page. And I can take pictures of all of my swatches that I make tonight once they're dried tomorrow and post them, so you guys can see once they're dried how they actually look.
Oh, I would love that. Text me those tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Same thing here, again, with that sea glass color. This one right here, that's the same color, but it's disappearing into the page because it just, as you can see, those pastels just aren't the same. Let me see. So those are the same colors. Look how different.
Oh my gosh, that is such a huge difference.
Yeah.
And we're like 3 levels in.
Right, right. Yeah, and that's why it's so important because it like really understanding color theory and understanding what's happening underneath your canvas is so important so your clients can understand too and so you can understand like color theory can be really tricky, can be really hard for some people, but once you that's the biggest thing I have to say is once you understand the color wheel and once you understand underlying pigments in the hair, it makes your life 10 times easier. If you're a newbie at formulating and things like that, I would definitely recommend getting one of these because then it kind of just takes the thought process out of it for you. Like you don't have to guess. You don't have to try and explain to your client like, okay, well, it will probably look like this. You can just be like, okay, so here's the real deal. This is what it is. So let's talk about that. Okay, let's move on to our orange. As we get darker, these colors are just going to disappear. So we've got our pink there. That orange is pretty much the same color as the paper. That yellow you can barely see that once it dries. Yeah, that's like on. That green, this green that I made, I mean, look at the difference even between what's on the mannequin and what's on the page.
Oh wow, yeah, look at that.
Yeah. So these are going to look completely different, obviously, as we know, but this is really great to be able to show your client just that and what will look best. Like for any rule of thumb, I would say like when I used to work at Salon Centric and I'd have stylists come in all the time and ask me, okay, well, she wants this, but her hair is this. I would just say the safe colors for dark hair is like magenta, purple, blue, dark green, and red. And red is always a good color to use on somebody who wants like some sort of vivid, but they're only lifting to like a level 7 or 8. I typically don't even like to put reds on a perfect level 10 because it just doesn't have enough of that underlying pigment and it goes pink. And if my clients want red, they don't want pink. So I wouldn't choose to put red on a perfect level 10 canvas. I would choose to put red on a like level 7, 8, 6, something like that that has a little bit more pigment in there. What did Chris say? Yes, the foundations, even with the years and years and still same simple color theory. Yes, always go back to color theory. That's what I always say. I'm like, that is the movement. It's the color theory. You just back to the basics. And sometimes we forget. And if you're like me, I mean, I don't know where you went to school, but I didn't really learn a whole lot of color theory in school. Like I learned the basics, but like not like I know it now, you know? And it's because I think that hair too, when I was in school 7, 8 years ago, it was just different. It's not the same as it is now, right? How long has Colormap been around actually? How many years?
I want to say about like 5 or 6 years at this point because I also remember getting it as a sample. I actually remember getting it as a sample at Blonding and Beyond that Jessica had.
Yeah. Yeah. I will tell you guys really quickly with Desert Sky from Pulp Riot, from my own experience, it's best on levels 9, 10, like straight up, really light. Excuse me, I did have it on my front money pieces for a while, and they're like a perfect level 10 underneath this, but, well, like a level 9, but it was good on that, but anything below that, it kind of disappears. Desert Sky isn't advertised as a pastel shade, but it is. So I would definitely recommend using Desert Sky on like a 910, but this is those swatches finished on this page. As you can see, these colors are just starting to look a lot different. Let me compare really quick. Same colors. And they look completely different. So yeah, I seriously love this. I get like giddy about this stuff because I'm like, look at it, just look at it. It's so great. All right, and then let's move on to our last color that we have, which is our red. So oftentimes I don't see this. I don't oftentimes have to work with this canvas, luckily. Normally I get them like a dark orange, or typically my clients are this. That's what they lift to. If for the first session, typically it's like a dark orange. And what I like to do with my clients is to create a game plan. So like I'm like, okay, are you planning on doing all these sessions with me? If so, what are we going to be doing, and what is our game plan? Because I don't want to work harder than I have to with trying to correct tones. So if they eventually want to be like a lilac color, I'm not going to go put green on it the first session. I'm going to try and stick with tones that we want to stay with as we get lighter and lighter with the hair. Because I don't want to set myself up for failure by trying to color correct every single time, because we also with Vivids need to lift out the hair every single time, majority of the time. So I try and use color shifting as much as I can before I'm using lightener, because I rather color shift and do less work than put lightener on their hair and then it just blow their cuticle open, and it's just not good. I don't want to do that. So all these colors, pretty much these pastel colors, will just disappear into this red. None of these pastel colors are really going to work for this underlying tone right here.
And I feel like that's always the level coming in. Like, I want to be pastel. And I'm like,
yeah, yeah. Everybody wants pastel. I want to be pastel, but it's not. Yeah, it's just not gonna happen. I mean, my hair, it's just warm, so it's like, I mean, it could happen, but it wouldn't be that cute for a long time. It'd fade really fast, you know? So this is our last one. This is our first one in comparison. We've got our colors up top. Look how different those colors look, though. Look how red that looks now compared to that pink.
Root doesn't lift quite as much, or they have like really light ends. You can show what your root's going to look like, and this is what we'll do for your ends. So you really do create that insurance policy.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I call this. Like, that's what I've called this before. I'm like, this is just insurance to make sure that I'm doing what we need to be doing with this. And that we're working with the correct tones, and that you can see like what will and won't work with your hair. So I love this color map because you guys right here can see it. You can see the difference immediately on what is going to look like on what canvas, and how you can get different results. I would always 100% of the time recommend swatching every single color that you do on any of these, like whatever it is. If your client lifts, whether it's to this or white or orange or whatever it may be, 100% of the time always swatch first. Just to show them too. Like, I like to just show my clients on paper what it's going to look like. Mm-hmm. And then I just say, okay, so do you like these colors? Do you want me to tweak anything? Do you want it to be, because also in the bowl with these underlying pigments, like what this looks like in the bowl is not necessarily what it's going to look like on the hair. Even if you have a perfect white canvas, still swatch it. Still show your client what you're doing, because they get excited. They're like, oh my gosh, that's going to be on my head. Okay, let's do it, you know? And two, like having my clients sign their little sheets also is a way for them to feel like it's special and it's customized and things like that. So I love Colormap because it makes me be more personalized with my formulations and with my clients. So it's really great.
I love that so much. Krista was saying, she's like, that helps me pre-pigment all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And two, with being, if we do add to the color map with greens or blues or whatever, that's going to be so nice, because oftentimes we just have to use color theory at the bowl with that. Like, oftentimes I'll have like a blue that I'm lifting out, and it will go seafoam green. And one of my favorite things to do, sometimes I'll use like a high-speed toner, something that's oxidative, but a lot of the time I'll just take like blush with water in a squirt bottle and just squirt it all over, and it neutralizes their hair immediately. So
that's a good tip to have too. I love that.
Yeah, so those are just some tips that I use behind the chair that help me a lot. I definitely wouldn't be able to do what I do without Colormap. I mean, I could, but it'd just be a lot. It'd be a lot less convenient. I'll say that. This is just very convenient to have in my personal things that I use behind the chair. So, and my clients really enjoy it too. Clients get excited. And it makes me excited because then I can, have full insurance on what I'm doing on people's hair, and I can connect with them and kind of be real with them and show them, all right, this is what it is. Because a lot of my clients, they prefer the full transparency, and I just really appreciate that. And I appreciate that about Colormap, that you guys allow that for us. So thank you so much. This is all I've got for today. Does anyone have any questions about anything
Let's see if
regarding the
I got any
Colormap?
quick questions. You did an awesome job.
Thank you.
Killed it. I have been so excited for your live like all week, like last week. Like,
I've been so excited. I know. I hope I get to do this again. It's so much fun. I hope too when the new stuff gets released that I'll get to use it on camera because it's super fun. I really.
oh, girl, I got you.
Thank you.
Don't worry. All right. I think that's pretty much all she wrote, folks. So I'll make sure too that we're gonna save this and I'll have it posted so that way you can replay it. I'm gonna probably put it on YouTube because that's just what we do. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. You did awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining today, everybody that joined the live. And thank you again so much for hosting me. I'm so happy I got to do this today and it was so much fun.
Oh, thank you again. All right. We'll see you later.
See ya. Bye.